Good morning. I'm new here at NCC, and I came in to manage our communication channels and the church website. One of the biggest portions of my job is to set goals and measure what success looks like. Right away, I was looking for indicators of success and failure. In my world, these are called metrics. Metrics are used to identify areas of improvement and targets of success. Finding and identifying metrics isn't restricted to website administrators, obviously. People in nearly every discipline will evaluate how successful they are at accomplishing their goals. Most of the time, goals can be set by a manager. Can we hit a sales target number? Or how many customers can we serve in a set amount of time? But businesses aren't the only places where the measurement of success is tracked. As many of us go into the new year, we set our own goals. These often look like health targets for our personal fitness regime. Or maybe we want to quit a bad habit that's lingered too long in our lives. We even set financial goals for monthly and yearly spending and saving. While I was reading through Proverbs 23, verses 17 through 19 jumped out at me. They say, "Do not envy sinners, but always continue to fear the Lord. For surely you have a future ahead of you. Your hope will not be disappointed. My child, listen and be wise. Keep your heart on the right course." When reading this, and later digesting what applicable truths I can find for my own life, I was reminded of a deeply profound statement. We are not of this world. The goals that we set for ourselves as believers should look different than those in the secular world. We shouldn't be caught up in measuring ourselves for success against what others tell us should be important. Instead, the believer's job is to align our goals with God's. As believers, we are different, and we are supposed to have different metrics by which we evaluate our lives. The world has developed its own indicators of success and value. You may have heard the saying of worldly wisdom, "He who dies with the most toys wins." Does that sound like it matches God's value structure? Of course not. He says to store up our treasures in heaven, not here on earth. He praises the widow for giving everything she has as an offering, even though, from a worldly standpoint, this sounds foolish. Poverty-stricken folks don't usually give up their meager resources to help others. Instead, the world would say, cling to what you have and gather more at all costs for our happiness and safety to be ensured. This is backwards for the church. Our safety is in God's hands. Our hope rests in Him. We should not feel like we are safe with a big bank account, but instead we should focus on doing right by the Lord's success metrics. It is only by changing our priorities to look more like God's that we find true and lasting success and hope for our future. God delights in us when we quit looking to the world for confirmation or approval of success. He is pleased when we quit measuring ourselves by earthly standards and instead compare our lives to the godly lifestyle outlined in Scripture. Consider Jesus. As a member of the Trinity, God in human form, He was the prophesied Messiah. The world assumed that He would establish His earthly kingdom by force, as a political figure. But His point of view is vastly different than ours. His kingdom is for the hearts and minds of His people. His dominion transcends borders and the lines we've drawn on a map. When we measure what our success looks like this year, I would encourage each of you to evaluate your lives through the lens of Scripture. God, will you be pleased? I ask myself this often. We must remember that we are citizens of heaven first. No matter where we live or where we come from, we will be evaluated on His standards and His guidelines. For some, this can be a scary proposition. But for the church, This should bring us tremendous hope. Our King sits on the throne, and despite what our earthly leaders would have us believe, he is the only one that deserves our full allegiance and obedience. I hope this brings you as much hope and joy as it does me. It's truly my prayer that this year, the church would be successful according to God's point of view. May we always remember that we are not of this world.